Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we're continuing with our series of shirim on the inner world of calmness, and picking up where we left off last week, where we spoke about the necessity of learning how to breathe deeply from the nose, to calm oneself down at the heart of anger, to draw calmness and expansivity into that feeling of claustrophobia of time, where things kind of condense and constrict themselves. Breath allows there to be an expansion. It's an inhale and an exhale. It's an awareness that each moment is enough, each breath is enough, and b'chol neshima v'neshima, each breath is going to be a full, encompassing vision of what it means to be a human being, to draw in through inspiration, calmly, to make it simsum within the self, to draw in new air, to recognize that I need something new, and then to pause and to exhale, and to allow that vitality that I thought was so necessary to dissipate, to go away, and to be in that place of needing to draw it in again, the ruts of a shov, kamari habezek, the nav and nad, the in and the out, the calmness of the lungs that allow the beating of the heart to find measure in this world, the ability to say shah to ourselves, the ability to be mamtik, the charon af, the tendency towards anger, specifically through the arichas ruach, through the inhaling of breath. And what we didn't say last week was a meditation from the Zidichaver, with regards to breath, that one would assume, okay, so if to be human is to be split between menucha and the opposite of menucha, and finding breath is the ability to balance the inhale and the exhale, that necessary splitness at the heart of the individual, and to find the unity of breath, the Ruach HaPeinu Mashiach Hashem. So fine, so I would still continue to imagine if life is going to be split into a rutz of a shov, a running and a returning, then the inhale is a running forth into myself with inspiration, the desire to be more in the next moment than I am, the belief that I can renew myself. And the exhale is the expiration of that expectation, of that emptying out of the self, that shove, that return back to the normal sense of myself, not my ideal, but my real. And so one would assume, okay, so we have to run in the best part of ourselves and return back to the natural part of ourselves. So in that splitness of life, then the ideal state is going to be when I'm running up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in my states of Ratzah, where I'm inhaling deeply, where I have the courage to see myself as something powerful and see myself in the lens of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the way he sees me, and to see myself as an ani, as a vehicle of the ani ha'elyon, feeling good about myself. That's the inhale. We would assume that that's the most important place to find Hashem. Okay, and the natural human tendency and necessity of the exhale, the shove, the coming back to oneself, that's going to be the secondary stage. That's going to be the stage, the unfortunate reality of being human. But the Zidichaver says something incredible. He says that with every inhalation, and again, the inhale is the excitement, the rutso, the assumption that we're encountering the best part of ourselves, the best part of being human, where we feel perfect, where we feel good about ourselves. So what you should be machavin to is the shame of Hashem that is spelled out, Aleph Daled Nun Yud, Adnus. Adnus, the way that we can express Hashem's name in spite of the fact that we can't read it the way it's written. Adnus, Aleph Daled Nun Yud, is the secret of natural order, is a lowliness of spirit, is a stuckness, is the body, is the human experience of the limit point. And so why is it that we're paying attention to this name specifically when we're inhaling? The inhale, the excitement about what the next moment offers me, theoretically should be associated with the shame havaya, which is the shame of presence, the shame of calmness, the shame of the real orientation of what it means to be a human being in this world. But what we find is the opposite. In the inhale, says the Zidichaver, keep in mind the shame adnus. So what we thought was the ideal situation is associated with the lower name. And in the exhale, in the returning back to the self, in the smallness of mind that necessitates the fracturing of my experience in this world, the ruts of a shov, b'chol neshima v'neshima, so there I should be machavin shem havaya, the ideal experience. And what the Rebbe points out is that this is what the Metzias is, that to be a human being, it doesn't mean that I should have been in an absolute state of menucha, I should be in an absolute state of the inhale, of the running towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But because I've failed, I'm not able to do that, and therefore I have to operate in the lower places of self as well. That's a pathological perspective that sees every moment that's not idealized or seen as the best possible perfect thing is going to be seen as a trauma, is going to be seen as something that's insignificant and a waste that I best have to get over and learn how to compartmentalize my experience. But what Yiddishkeit comes to show is that not only is the other side of experience, the return back to self, the struggle with menucha, the opposite of calmness, the struggle for calmness, the yagia necessary for calmness. Not only is that a fundamental part of the picture, but that is the higher place. That is where you encounter HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the most real terms. That's where you allow the rubber to hit the road and force HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kavyachol to reveal himself even more intensely in this moment, specifically in the exhale, specifically in the shov. And that's why we pay attention to the Shem Havaya. Specifically there in the place where we feel we're dissipating and breaking back into what it means to be human, to exhale in that place of the sigh and the oy vey, the allowing of that noise to extend itself even farther. What Rabbi Nachman describes, we said, is that that's the psika haneshima, that's a death, that's a giving oneself over to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When I extend my exhale, when I allow myself to krechs and to sigh a little bit longer, it's specifically there that a person is cutting themselves off from the vitality that they had in the previous moment, which has grown stale, and opening themselves up to the vitality of the moment, which is now mechudash in front of them. It's specifically in the exhale, it's specifically in the shov. That was the work of breath. It's finding calmness within the effort to retrieve calmness and learning how to be satisfied with the fact that while absolute calmness is not something I have access to, I can taste the secret of absolute calmness in my effort towards absolute calmness. In the way that I allow that search for calmness to inform the process towards calmness, that's going to be the secret of tasting my world in my days, of finding menucha, ki tov, in this world itself. Now, we quoted a teaching from Rabbi Nachman that in describing the nature of the lungs, in describing the kanfei rea, the five folds of the lungs that allow the breath to properly ventriculate itself, to allow the breath to properly move from the inside to the outside, from the outside to the inside. So there's these kanfei rea that are soothing in their up and down process, like wings. They come up and they go down. They're inhaling and they're exhaling. They're filling and they're emptying. And in this smooth motion of filling and emptying, this back and forth, the shuckling nature that we so naturally find ourselves drawn to as neshamos, because we're rooted in that place of Ratzav V'Shov, of running and returning, which is why the Jewish people shuckle when they daven, because we're always in that state of breath. So Rabbi Nachman said, what is a good example of this natural back and forth soothing nature, cooling, flaming nature of the lungs themselves, of breath? It's an individual, a tzaddik, who finds themselves wandering around their house, no v'nad b'such beso, moving and returning, no v'nad b'such beso. And Rabbi Nachman says that the act of walking, of moving one leg and then the other leg and then one leg and the other leg from place to place, is the exact same example as the emergence and the retreat of breath itself. The in and the out is very similar to the picking up and arriving, moving and stopping of what it means to walk. And we're going to see in this week's shiur how the nature of walking, the nature of being walking creatures as a philosophical or psychological state, and most significantly, the actual act of being an individual who walks in this world with my two legs on the ground, we're going to find that the way that our legs carry us, the way that we allow our legs to carry us, the way that we allow ourselves to fall and find calmness within the natural sway of our legs in a refined way is going to be the source of menucha. And the attempt of taking control over our legs and taking control over our destiny and ensuring that we get what we want and we arrive where we want our legs to take us, that's going to be the birthplace of the opposite of menucha. That's going to be the birthplace of the struggle against menucha. And as we've already said throughout the shirim, it's the struggle towards menucha and the tasting of menucha, and then the retreat back to trying to struggle with menucha. It's specifically there that we're going to uncover the secret of menucha, which is choosing menucha, choosing to be calm in this moment, in spite of the fact that not everything gives me a reason to be calm. And so the nature of walking, halicha, the legs, they are not simply one element of what it means to be a human being. They're not one body part amongst others. They're not one trait amongst others. Because in the Torah, what we find is that the defining factor of what it means to be a human being, in contradistinction to some other reality, whether it be a malach, which is ascendant from the human being in a spiritual way, or whether it be a behema that is descending from a human being in a physical way, both the malach and the animal have no bechira. The malach because it's all neshama, the animal because it's all guf. The human being is specifically the one wedged between neshama and guf, body and spirit, which by definition separates us from everything else. And the definition and the definitional split, the foundational split that defines what it is that the human being is holchim. We are individuals who walk, we move, we travel. Unlike the malachim, which are omdim, they stand in one place. Unlike the behemos, which are not considered as moving or changing creatures. And so the very definition of to be a human being is to be a creature that walks. But what is the nature of walking? What is the nature of walking? Walking is the need to be elsewhere rather than the place that I am at right now. It is the need, is the ability to transport myself from here to there. It is the gift of traversing distance. Walking is the original form in which human beings attempt to capture space. I am here in my limited place. I would like to move outwards and extend my presence in this world. So I will move my legs from a situated stance of standing, and I will move one leg and the other, and I will bring myself to another place, thereby extending my presence in the world. Halicha, walking as a human being, we have the capacity of capturing and uncovering new ground. And we have the capacity of retreating or moving forward. Walking can take a person in any direction. But to walk already implies that where I am, in the place that I stand right here, right now, there is something that is motivating me to move out of this space. Now, that motivational desire towards walking can come from the very natural desire to move upwards. And it could also come, as we're going to see by Kayin, from the very natural fear and terror of being where we're at because we're running from something. But be it as it may, whichever way we look at it, the human being is a metaltel. The human being is someone who moves from one place to another, thereby conquering new space and expanding my territory, expanding the presence that I have as this miutamachsik as this tiny creature, that I have the ability to extend myself and to move from one place to the other and to be aware of it. Now, originally speaking, originally in the ideal forms of things, HaKadosh Baruch Hu placed Adam Arishon in Gan Eden. HaKadosh Baruch Hu placed Adam in Gan Eden, v'yasim, v'yanich. He was placed there. There was no need to have arrived at the point that he came to. Adam Arishon is the only human being who found himself placed in a place without anything preconceiving it. There was no process, there was no walking that was necessary to arrive at the place that Adam Arishon was at. Adam Arishon, in his mind, what that means is that the mind of Adam Arishon had a mindset of not needing to move anywhere. That yes, Adam Arishon's job and to be human is to always be moving, but in the mindset of Adam Arishon, in the creation form of Adam Arishon, there was a place of knowledge of Das that I didn't come here because I had walked from a previous destination. I have left something in order to arrive here. I have always been here. I am always in this spot. And in that mindset, and that nikud of Das of Adam Arishon, of the pre-chet, it's the recognition that in truth, a human being does not need to move anywhere. That a human being has everything that they could possibly need exactly where they are at, and each moment of existence provides the sum total of the available nature of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's expression of light to us, and avails us of every possible rectification and elevation of existence to the degree of revealing the fundamental unity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu at the heart of all things, which translates into the rest at the heart of all things. That there was no need to move, there was no need to walk away from anything, and there was no need to walk towards anything. He was placed. V'yasim, he was placed in the middle of Gan Eden, where the entirety of existence was folded under his feet. And the chait of the Eitz Hadas, what happens when we transition from that simplicity of identifying with the truest and best parts of ourselves, that place of das, of knowing that I don't need to move anywhere in order to accomplish anything. I don't have to uproot myself because I feel that I'm deficient in some element. I can be where I am and experience the fullness of that moment. The chait of the Eitz Hadas covered over all of that knowledge. It covered over that accessibility to that place in the mind that, yeah, as an Adam, I am placed in this world. I did not walk here. My legs did not bring me here, and therefore I don't need to rely on my legs to bring me anywhere. I am where I am, and if I'm here, everything is here. And that place in the mind of that menucha, that absolute menucha of not needing to move anywhere, but rather to lay out and to extend the legs in a place of situatedness, that place was concealed from the individual, and we fell into the process of halicha, of the knowledge of our need to walk. That doesn't mean we wouldn't have had to walk prior to the Chet of Adam Arishon. We understand that the natural imperfection of human beings, by definition, implies that there's always a process of from here to there and from there to here. But that walking would not have taken us out of the mindset of the realization that I'm not walking because I need to walk. I'm walking because that's my shlichus. I'm walking from a position of strength. I'm walking because I want to extend myself, not because I'm in a state of privation. Prior to the Chet of the of Adam, the Nachash itself was the Raglayim of the individual. There was a theory, there was a technological advancement to the degree that the Nachash, which is the Gematria of Mashiach, was so refined that on a certain level the human being would not have needed to move far in order to accomplish. The Nachash, Rashi tells us, had raglayim before the Chet. It had legs. It was meant to be the raglayim of the individual. It was meant to be the servant of the individual that would go upwards to retrieve beautiful diamonds and go downwards to get rid of all of the waste and the filth. Those two elements, to move upwards through walking or to get to fix something from the path through walking, that was the work of the Nachash. When the Nachash was refined, when it was meant to be an Eved Tov, it was meant to be Raglayim Ladavar, it was meant to be the thing that carried the human mind throughout reality. But alas, there was Chet of Adam Arishon, and we became aware of our walking. We became aware of our need to transition from one place to another, and that situatedness and that knowledge of Vayaseh Masa Adam, that I'm placed here. I don't need to move anywhere. I didn't arrive here, and I don't need to go anywhere. I'm where I am. I don't need to move. This is where I'm going to build my Beis Hamikdash. And that Evan Hashasiyah, which is anywhere a Yid decides to build the Evan Hashasiyah, which then brings them to the actual Evan Hashasiyah. That place is concealed, and what happens afterwards? V'yishmu as kol Hashem Elokim misalech began l'ruach hayom v'yitcha b'ha'adam v'ishto mepnei Hashem Elokim b'seich eitz hagan. That Adam Arishon becomes aware of movement. Adam and Chava, they hear the voice of HaKadosh Baruch Hu mishalech began. It was walking in the Gan. There was now a movement. There was a need to go elsewhere. I had heard the voice of HaKadosh Baruch Hu here prior because it was everywhere. Now I hear it elsewhere. Now I need to move in order to be who I need to be. Now I need to travel. Now I need to separate myself from where I am at and move to elsewhere. A shinoi makom. Now I have to find myself. I have to find my place, as opposed to living in the place of ein lecha adam she'ein lo makom, that there's no human being who is not the place themselves without any need to move because we're attached to the makom shel olam, and we find ourselves in halicha. We find ourselves moving from place to place, which gives birth, obviously, to the opposite of menucha, which is the need and the frenzy to move, to travel, to accomplish, to find more experience over there in the hopes of feeling a little bit better, only to come to realize that I was better where I was off, and that the walking all along has been the desire and the unfulfilled desire to find comfort and calmness and moments of sipok hanefesh in this world, which ultimately leads to a pizor nefesh and a bahala sadas, always wandering without ever arriving. This all emerges from the Chet of Adam Arishon, which now we become aware that we're Mahalchim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu begins to walk. Kol Hashem Elokim Meshalich began. And the Ramban says something incredible. He says that Rav Chilfi, again, that language from Chazal of chilufin, of changes. It's specifically that Manta Amar who represents changes, the Chalifas Lamo. The fact that things have to move now. Things will not be found in one singular place. Things will not be self-same, but rather now there's a need for movement, which is the apparent opposite of Menucha. Shamanu sheyesh hilach lakol. It turns out that we find that there's a voice, and a voice walks. There's a notion of walking by a voice, as it's written, V'yishmos kol Hashem salech b'seich hagan. And the Rambam adds, Lefi daisi, in accordance with my understanding, the reason that the voice is referred to as walking in Gan Eden is the same nation as HaKadosh Baruch Hu walking within us, as it says in the pasuk in Vayikra v'shalechi b'seichacham. It's the same hiluch. Vayelech Hashem kasher ledaver, kala ledaver al Avram. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu walked away when he was done speaking. Eilech hashuva el makomi. I will walk and I will return to my place. Hu inyan giloi shchina b'makom hahu o histaklusam min hamakom sheniglabo. All hiluch, says the Ramban, is either the arrival of the Shechina HaKadosha in the place that it needs to be, or the removal of the Shechina HaKadosha. Meaning to say that hiluch hanefesh, the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Mahalech now, and as a human being I become aware of my need to be Mahalech, to move from one place to the other, to no longer find everything I have in one place, no longer have that ability to be self-situated in myself, but now I have to extend myself and run all over in the hopes of finding Menucha. That is simply representative of the fact that now we experience life as Hiskalus Hashina and Histalkus Hashina. The presence of the Shechina, which is the Sharish of Menucha, when I'm Mekusher to Shechina, when I feel that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with me right now, that's Menucha. When I feel that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not within me right now, or not with me right now, that's the Histalkus Hashina. That's when I feel that I'm in Pizor and I have to move. And so the nature of walking is the dialectical sway, like the breath, the in and the out, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence in my life, where I don't need to necessarily move. And then the absence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence in my life, the absence of Menucha, which causes me to have to move. And with this, we can begin to understand something very wonderful from Rabbi Nachman. Rabbi Nachman talks about two places in Rabbi Nachman where Rabbi Nachman talks about the nature of walking, the need to travel from place to place. In the one place, he says that the masaos that a person goes through, that the walking that a person goes through in this world, the traveling from place to place, is a pegam in emunah. It's a falling away from absolute faith, because if I was rooted in absolute faith, if I had access to that nakuda of das of Adam Arishon, Kodem Hachet, where I was placed and I didn't need to walk anywhere because it was fundamentally clear to me that I didn't arrive here through my own action, and I Mamela don't have to move towards my next destination. In that place, any movement of the self, any feeling that I need to go elsewhere in order to accomplish, that I need to have something else in order to feel good enough and feel makusher tachadish baruch Hu, and connect to the menucha kitov, is a pegam in emuna. And so the masaos of Klal Yisrael were a pegam in emuna. It was a need for us to travel from one place to the other. And as a result, when we find ourselves traveling, the implication is that I feel that I need to go elsewhere in order to find what I need. I'm not okay where I'm at. And this is true both internally and externally. When a person feels that they need to jump from topic to topic, from concept to concept, from idea to idea, from ism to ism, from framework to framework, from modality to modality, while that is a fundamental way of development of knowledge, it's also rooted in an exile of self, because I'm always perpetually thinking that there's going to be another chachma, there's going to be another nakuda that's going to give me what I need in order to unlock the chida, the question and the riddle of my life, as if there's some key that needs to be discovered, and if this is the wrong key, I have to go to the next key. That hiluch hanefesh, that walking and the running and the trying and the building and the unbuilding and the breaking and the writing and the erasing, the running and the returning, all of that, while it stems from a healthy place from time to time, if it's not rooted in a semblance of unity of self, of menucha, of a place that I know that I don't have to walk there, a place of a home that I can enter back into in my mind, that makom menucha that a yid has to have in their mind, where I can take my shoes off, where it's an admas kodesh, to stand there like Moshe Rabbeinu, to stand there, not to walk anymore. Yes, I'm always going to be walking. I'm an adam, that's a tachlis, but to know that at the heart of my walking, I don't have to be running anywhere. If I don't have that underneath all of the travels, and the travels are just a pizor nefesh, always searching for myself and never finding myself, because ultimately I didn't have to leave anywhere to find myself. So in that place, Rabbi Nachman says that traveling is a pegam in emunah. Elsewhere, we see that the Masaos of Klal Yisrael were the tikkun to the Pegam of Emunah. The Pegam of Emunah was the Egel. And all of the Masaos were a tikkun to the Egel. And the rectification is by traveling. And each place I travel, as the Baal Shem Tov says, I'm finding nitzotos, I'm finding elements of sparks of hidden and concealed light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that I am singularly unique and capable of uncovering in this particular moment through my moichin, my midos, and my experience, through my kavana, through my hargasha, and through my maisa. And every place that I walk, that's where I am, and that's where I have to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's where I'm uncovering more elements of Emunah. So we find the stira, that on the one hand, traveling and needing to move from place to place is a Pegam in Emunah. On the other hand, traveling from place to place is the Tikkun of Emunah. And so what is it? Is the human being meant to be walking, or is the human being not meant to be walking? Is the human being meant to have Hashras HaShechina, or is the human being meant to be stuck in the Histalkas HaShechina? And so the secret of the answer is, like everything that we've been discussing, it's both and at the very same time. That out of the two contradictory notions of what walking is in Rabbi Nachman, we find the secret answer that a person has to learn to walk and not walk at once. That I have to remember that, yes, I'm a walking creature. Yes, I am a walking creature, I am a mahalich, and there are places that I need to go to, and there are things that I need to accomplish. But that need for accomplishment, that need for moreness, doesn't come from a deficiency of how I feel right here, right now. It doesn't come from a sense that there's not enough right now. The circumstances of my reality are deficient, and therefore I cannot function as I best would like to or ideally can in this moment as a result of the circumstances. And therefore, let me move away in search of better circumstances in order to find my best self. That type of walking is ultimately going to lead to a weariness and a kfira in the self and the absence of menucha. It's going to be a wandering around that provides absolutely no sipuk nefesh, because ultimately I don't have to go anywhere to unlock what I have. I have what I have, and I always have what I have. And wandering around to find what I need in order to be myself is never going to lead to anything. Hillel says it best: Im anikan hakolkan. If I am here, everything is here. That doesn't mean that Hillel doesn't walk and travel and belechtacha baderach on every level, but he's aware that every step of the way is simply a return back to that place where I'm always already found. So if I'm wandering as a result of there's no menucha here, I can't find the comfort, I can't find the joy, I can't find this, that, or the other thing, so that I'm always going to be wandering. Again, there are things to walk away from, but that's not one that is searching, that's removing oneself from something. But the movement away as a result of a restlessness or a wandering without destination because I'm so uncomfortable where I'm at, is the halicha that's the opposite of Amunah. That's the curse of halicha. That's the opposite of Menucha. That's where I'm running. I'm always running. Kol mishalich b'soich hagan. I'm running. The Ben Adam is moving their legs. The raglayim are the raglayim ledavar. It's the reality. The raglayim, the legs hit the ground. They get tired. They grow weary, and they're always carrying me from one place to the other, running, 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 to the degree that I'm not even conscious anymore, which is hergel, which is habituated nature or addiction, is rooted in the legs themselves because the legs are perpetually moving nonstop. And if I don't have that center point of menucha at the heart of all things, that place of v'yasem began, where Adam Rishon was placed, then I'm going to grow exhausted and miserable. And that's when Rabbi Nachman says that walking is a pegam in emuna. But when I ground myself, and when I recognize every moment of my life, there's a precipitatory stage of Admas Koideshu. This is Admas Koidesh. Why? Because my Dimyon, the Kedusha, has decided this is Admas Koidesh. That I'm an Adam who's a Medame, connecting to the Adama, which is the root of my Dimyon, and I'm utilizing my Dimyon to realize that this is Admas Koidesh. Everything is here. Everything is here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I could find everything I need right here, right now. I could build the Beis HaMikdash right here, right now. In this Shabbos, in this home, in this room, in this job, in this experience, in this Hargasha. When all of the circumstances align and I've changed what I can change and I need to accept reality and I can't change anymore, I have to come to that place of acceptance. And in acceptance, I don't need to walk anywhere. And it's from that place that I begin walking. If I begin walking from that place of acceptance, from that place of menucha kitov, of knowing that, yes, I need to work, I need to cultivate, but not out of deficiency, not out of fear of something chasing me, not out of fear that if I rest my feet for a second, I'm going to be punished and not fully actualize my potential. That's the opposite of menucha. Menucha is the secret that potential need not be actualized because potential is actualized. It's always actualized. It's the Metzias Hadvarim. It's how Kadosh Baruch Hu created the Welt. It's how Kadosh Baruch Hu created me. The notion that I have some reservoir of potential that needs to be revealed, and if I don't reveal it, I'm a failure, is a pathological thing that orients people towards dichaon, towards sadness, towards yeyush, and away from the path of halicha, the kedusha, away from the halichas olam, halachta bedrachav, from the refined way of walking as a human being in this world. That stems from privation. But if I know that I'm enough and I know that hine makom iti, there's a place in the mind that I can still uncover the need to be calm and I don't need to go anywhere, that's where I can then begin to walk from. Then I'm a free person. Then everywhere I go, there I am. I am walking here not because I necessarily feel that there is something I absolutely need in this store, in this room, in this house, in this place. I'm not missing anything. But when I come to that place and I realize that everything in life is about adding, being moisif, adding to what is already always full, at that place I can walk with menucha. I'm not rushing anywhere. I'm not rushing. I'm not running anywhere out of a fear that time is going to swallow me up or circumstances are going to swallow me up, but I'm walking calmly and slowly. The secret of being a Ben Adam is learning the secret of walking calmly, not running, not being terrified, not running in the garden like Rabbi Nachman says, because we're terrified that if we allow our legs to wait, then we're going to be swallowed up and devoured by deficiency. That's the opposite of menucha. That's where the mind is terrified at every given moment. But the secret of being human is to stroll, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is metayel began Eden with us. He strolls with the tzaddikim in Gan Eden. Strolling is this beautiful thing of walking without urgency, of walking for the sake of walking out of a place of growth, of being matayel began Eden, of being matayel in the Torah, going from one place to another and never stopping to look for more and more, but not because I don't have enough, but rather because the enoughness that I have, I'm aware, is still limited in relationship to the true nature of enoughness and the true nature of nechama, which is a Kadosh Baruch Hu, but not out of deficiency, not out of fear, not out of a terror that if I stay still, I'm going to fail and I'm going to slide backwards. All of those things are true to one degree or another, but what we're trying to orient ourselves to right now is the secret of menucha. How can I have menucha as a walking creature? Is to walk slowly, is to walk slowly. And on a practical level, to actually walk slowly. Now, in given situations where walking slowly is the inappropriate thing to do, obviously not to walk slowly, but to walk faster, to run. But when a person has the mindset in the 5 minutes a day where they allow themselves to stroll, whether it's in their home, in their merpeset, on their porch, on their block, to walk slowly, without destination, to allow the legs to move, right leg, right leg, left leg, pause, to allow the legs to carry the self, like David HaMelech, who's walking and thinks he's walking one place and then ultimately finds himself elsewhere. And he says, Chashafti Raglai, my legs, they take me. My legs, my habituated nature is holy. Let me wander. Let me wander without destination in limited forms. Let me experience the tiul. Let me experience the ability to move, to be a moving creature that is not a movement that is born out of a deficiency or a lack or an absence of menucha. But let me learn to walk with a sense of each step is giving me more kedusha, each step is giving me more menucha. Every place that I place my foot, I'm again experiencing the secret of menucha at the heart of halicha. That's the tiyul began Eden. That's to be metayil began Eden. We say in Zmiros on Shabbos Kodesh because Shabbos is obviously the place where menucha is forced upon us, where we spend all week fighting for menucha, fighting for menucha, fighting for menucha. Shabbos is a taste of what will be rewarded to us in the future and is actually being rewarded to us right now when we're aware of it, of what it means to be a creature that actually has learned how to walk with calmness, to be aware that every place that my feet take me is the place that I need to be, with all of the prerequisite conditions that I set in my life and the protective devices that I create in my life and the shmira and the protection that the human being must encounter at every ounce of themselves. When all is said and done and I'm forced into the place, the placement, the posture of acceptance after all of my hishtadlus is done in accordance with my nukuda habechira, my own singular point of relationality to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to the world, let me learn to walk still. Let me learn to walk without destination, to not be running. So on Shabbos Kodesh, there's a gvul, there's a limit to how much a person can walk. Because without a limit to how much a person can walk, without a tchum, the self will walk endlessly. It will aimlessly wander in search for anything. Because at the heart of the soul, the call of the soul is lech lecha. The beginningness of being a Jew is the awareness I need to walk in this world. Okay, that's the mitzias. I'm not a malach. I need to walk. But the secret of walking is not without destination, but rather el haaretz asher arecha, that each place that you arrive is the land that I'm going to show you. That's the place of walking towards Eretz Yisrael. As Rabbi Nachman says, Kol makom shani holech, ani holech rak Eretz Yisrael. Lech lecha, but lech lecha untethered to the Nakuda of Eretz Yisrael, which is the Nakuda of Hine makom iti, a place of calmness, a place of menucha, a place of taking a deep breath, a place of walking without running. Then that lech lecha becomes a pizor nefesh and it becomes a searching, searching, searching. Avram Avinu did not walk in order to find himself. Avram Avinu walked because HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him to walk. Avram Avinu was fine where he was. He could have found himself where he was. He walked because that was the mission. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him a mission, and the mission orientation towards the walking is that wherever I am, there I am, and every step I take is a new madrega, is a new aliyah, is a new world that I've just overcome, is a new limit that I've just overcome. And it's in that place of walking, it's in that place of the walking of Shabbos, which is limited. It's conditioned. It's a walking with a pre-consideration to the fact that I have enough. I'm in a space where everything is there. So on Shabbos, we say in Zmiros that poisim by psia ketana, so adim lo l'shlosh pamim. That on Shabbos we take small steps. Chazal tell us that big steps, fast walking in this world takes away a little bit of the eye vision of the individual. Takes away a measurement of vision that the human being has of grasping the Metzias and the Welt. And it's a very small level, but it's a real level. Tosfos ensures that it's a real level, but it's a very small level. And Chazal tell us that when does that light return? When does that light of the eyes return? When does that light that comes from the aimless walking of leaping and running and thinking that there's so many places that I need to be rather than where I am right now? That returns to a person on Shabbos. When we look down at the coast of Kiddush and we look at this world, the realization that I'm the one who's going to choose to find Menucha where I find Menucha. At that point, the Me'or Einayim comes back. The light of the eyes comes back. And that's why on Shabbos, it's Paisim by Psir Katana, that on Shabbos we learn to walk slowly. We learn to walk for the sake of walking, to grow for the sake of growing. And in that, we find calmness within the walking itself. This is what animates the light of the Zohar Kadosh. We've spoken about this numerous times. As the Ramchal says, the tikkun tahalicha is the halicha of the chavraya, walking with friends, communicating with friends, pausing slow enough to enjoy the world, to find menucha in the world, rather to run without limitation. Yes, movement. Tzadikim ein lahem menucha lo ba'olam hazeh v'lo la'olam haba. Shene'emar v'holchu mechayil el chayil. There's a perpetual halicha. We do not need to be afraid of not arriving where we need to arrive at. Everything arrives where it needs to arrive at. Everything will always arrive to where it needs to arrive at. Everything will always arrive to where it needs to arrive at. And so we can stop pushing our legs so hard. We can stop bearing the burden in the feet and thinking that my legs are responsible. My legs are the Raglaim Ladavar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Raglaim Ladavar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who is Megal himself on the Shalosh Regalim, where we refine our legs and we walk to the only place that we're perpetually walking to, which is Beis HaMikdash. Aliyah L'Regel. the calmness of knowing that there's a makom underneath every step that I take, not a walking that's running away from some abysmal traumatic void that opened up, and now I'm terrified that if I allow my feet to stay sturdily on the ground, I'm going to be swallowed up by the pit. But rather a walking with a sustenance and a confidence and a minucha and a calmness at the heart of it, to stroll like Rashbi and his Chavraya, to stroll, and again on a practical level, to take 5 minutes a day where a person allows themselves to walk, or allows themselves to walk, to be matayel, to walk like the tzaddikim walk, to walk slowly, seriously, sometimes even aimlessly, but it's not an aimlessness that is devoid of purpose. The purpose is the aimlessness. Because purpose is so ever present wherever I look. It doesn't have to have a particular aim. Wherever I walk is where I am. Wherever a yid finds themselves, a manikan hakolkan. And if I'm here, then Hakadosh Baruch Hu is here. And if Hakadosh Baruch Hu is here, I could draw down menucha. And it's in that place where we learn to rectify the vehisalach began, that yes, we're walking creatures, but our job is to transform our walking into calmness. And then we learn the secret of kfitza saderech, of the ground folding underneath our feet. And then we learn the secret of rikud, which is dancing, and how we utilize our feet. There's an endless nature of walking. Ragle Mevasir, the legs of Mashiach. Mashiach is the one who walks. Mashiach is the one who dances. Mashiach is the legless beggar. And to be a legless beggar, which our generation is, means to learn the secret art of walking based on a sense of enoughness, that I need to arrive elsewhere because I want more enoughness. I want more enoughness. I'm enough and I want more enoughness. I want another moment of enoughness. I want another moment of calmness. I want more from this world. I want more from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I'm going to train my legs to walk in the way that I want them to walk, to find menucha at the heart of every step, to find that secret point of menucha, that secret point of das of Adam Harishon Kodem Achet, that allows us to remember that yes, I have to walk everywhere, but at the same point, I don't have to walk anywhere. And this is the famous story that Rabbeinu would bring over, and that the story is brought from other tzaddikim as well, of the Heilige Yid, who decided he had a dream that the treasure chest was on the other side of the world. Treasure chest was on the other side of the world. And he was ready to unload everything to find that treasure chest. And he did, and he traveled, and he traveled, and he struggled, and he walked, and he walked, and he walked. When he came to arrive and to find that secret treasure hidden under the darkness of night, under the bridge with the foreign soldier covering it, and he digs, and he's looking for his treasure, and this foreign soldier says, Yid, what are you doing? And he says, you know what? I had a dream the last 5 nights in my life, all the way back in my small broken down hut, in my singular bed with my, iron stove or wooden stove, whatever, that I kept having a dream that there's going to be a treasure here, a treasure here, a treasure here, and I came to look for it. And the soldier starts laughing. He says, you stupid Jew, you silly Jew. He says, I've had a dream that in the same house that you're describing, with the same furnace you're describing, that underneath the furnace rests the very same treasure you're describing. And the Yid understands, and he runs back home, and he comes to find that the treasure is right there. So it's not about simply staying at home. It's not about not moving. It's not about resting and abiding where I'm at. That's not the secret of being a Adam. That's what a Malach wants. And the only time we mimic the Malachim is when we want to get them out of our way. On Yom Kippur, we pretend we're like the Malachim because Be'emes we're much higher than the Malachim. The secret of the Zohar is the secret of walking, because the Malachim can't understand the Zohar Kadosh. It's in Aramaic because they stand. They can't understand walking. They look at walking and they see, oh my gosh, what's this person doing? This individual has no faith. Why not stand where you are? Why have to travel in your mind? Why have to travel in your heart? Why have to travel in your memory? Why have to travel in your fantasy? Why have to travel in all of the places, searching, searching, searching? Find what you want. The Malachim can't understand the secret of walking. And it's only through the power of Rashbi and the Chavraya Kadishu who teaches us the secret of Matayel, to walk with feeling, to walk with the recognition that I do not lack anything. The treasure is always with me. The treasure is always in my house. Yes, I have to walk in order to uncover the secret that I didn't have to walk, because then I can learn to walk without walking. Then whenever I walk, there I am. And I'm never walking far, because wherever I am, there I am. Every step of the way enables me to pause. Every step of the way enables me to breathe. Every step of the way enables me to find a little bit more menucha ki toiv b'olam hazeh, a little bit more ability to rest assuredly in the place that my legs take me, and to stop rushing so much to some fantasized destination that doesn't exist, and to start living in the present moment. A person lives once. A person has their raglayim once in this world. And the job is to learn to stroll and to find calmness and to breathe and to limit the storm of time and to collapse the distance of space. And we're going to speak next week, Bezras Hashem, about the curse of Adam Harishon, B'zeh Yasapecha Toich Alechem, Then we're going to talk about Kayan's curse, two elements that take a person out of Menucha, and two new ways of uncovering psychological tools and tfilos and activities that can help us uncover more Menucha in our lives, and the secret of fake it until you make it, and the secret of Ki'ilu, and the secret of by acting as if we're calm, we uncover the truest secret of calmness, which is the ability to act calm even when we don't feel calm, which is the secret of that place that remains burrowed under in the mind, folded under all of the concealment that remains from pre-chait. And we're going to find more and more menucha be'ezras Hashem.